In this video, we're going to talk about what your MBE score means. A lot of students come to us and they ask us, what does my MBE score mean? Did I pass the MBE? Did I fail the MBE? How do I know how I did on the MBE portion of the bar exam? So we will tell you how to decode that in this video. The first thing that you should know is on your score report, it should tell you your converted MBE score or your scaled MBE score. They do not tell you the raw score, so they're not going to tell you how many out of 200 questions you got right. They're only going to tell you your converted score. And this converted score is what's used in calculating your overall score. And if you look at this chart is from the Illinois Bar Examiner's website, and it's for the February 2017 bar exam. So it's not going to be the same for every single bar exam. These percentiles will not be exactly the same. However, it is useful because they're not going to change significantly, so they'll tell you about how you scored on the MBE, which will hopefully tell you, whether or not you need to work on the MBE moving forward if you failed the bar exam. So if you look at the, let's just start with the bottom of the MBE percentile chart. You can see 100 on the very bottom left-hand corner of the chart, and if you got a score of 100, that means you're in the bottom 1 percentile. Which means that you only scored higher than 1% of people taking the bar exam, which means you have a lot of work to do on the MBE portion, because 1 percentile is not good. It means you really missed the boat. Maybe you ran out of time, maybe you really struggled with the questions, maybe you were really anxious, maybe you didn't know the law well enough, maybe it was a combination of those things, but a 100 means that you have a lot of work to do. Same with a 105 or a 110, you're really only moving up incrementally. A 105 is 2nd percentile, a 110 is 4th percentile, a 115th is 7th percentile, which means that you only did better than 7% of people taking the MBE. So if you're in this lower range, it means that you have a lot of work to do moving forward on the MBE portion of the bar exam. You can see some of the numbers that are considered passing in a lot of jurisdictions, like a 130 to a 135, that's passing in most jurisdictions. Some jurisdictions will require a 140, and the range of percentile here is between a 40th and 69th percentile. How do you know what score you need to pass the MBE in your jurisdiction? If you are in a uniform bar exam state, then your score is graded on a 400-point scale. And for example, New York requires a 266 to pass. So what you should do, the MBE is worth half and the essay portion is worth half. So just divide that number, 266, by 2, and that's the score that you technically need to pass the MBE portion of the bar exam. So you would need a 133 in New York. If you are in a jurisdiction that requires a 270 to pass, then a 135 would be considered passing for the MBE. Some jurisdictions require 280 or even higher. For a jurisdiction that requires 280, you would need a 140 to pass the MBE portion of the bar exam. And that's true for uniform bar exam jurisdictions, and it's true for any jurisdiction that uses a 400-point scale where the MBE is worth half of your score. One thing to note is a lot of jurisdictions don't require that you necessarily get this on the MBE. So for example, if you got a 130 on the MBE in New York and you got a 140 on the written portion, your overall score would be a 270, and you would pass the New York bar exam without ever technically getting that 133 on the MBE. And that's how a lot of jurisdictions operate. But it's still better to know about how far you are from passing the MBE, so that if you have to take the bar exam again, you know how much work you have to put into it. Another thing that you want to consider if you have to take the bar exam again is how many times you've taken the bar exam. If you get a 120, for example, and it's your first attempt at the bar exam, then it's possible that you just didn't have enough time to study, you didn't know the law well enough, maybe you had timing issues on the real bar exam, maybe you weren't using released questions. It's often easier to see more improvement between your first and second time taking the bar exam, especially on the MBE portion of the bar exam. But if you've taken the bar exam 3 times and you're at a 115 or a low score, a score in a low percentile, then you're going to want to really revamp your approach, because it tells me that there's something fundamental missing about your approach or about your understanding of the law. or about your ability to kind of tackle these MBE questions. So when you're considering how you're going to approach the MBE the next time you take the bar exam, if you have to take it again, then it's really worth it to consider not only your score, but your past scores and how many times you've taken the bar exam, so that you can kind of get an honest picture about what you need to do moving forward to pass the MBE portion of the bar exam.